All right, welcome back. Andres and John here for you, back on OTB. Today, we just want to dive right in. We want to talk about Erik Lamela. A lot of reports coming out, especially from our side as well. Basically, Bologna's sporting director, Walter Sabatini, has named Erik Lamela as a potential direct replacement for one of his winger/midfielders going to AC Milan. We've always kind of heard of Erik being touted by Serie A in the past, but he's never really been named directly. Clearly, Lamela is a bang-on favorite, fan favorite, but he has an interesting history with us, right? He's like one of the last of the Magnificent Seven. I mean, he is the last of the Magnificent Seven.
Yeah.
I think he'll always hold a special place for many different reasons in fans' hearts, but if selling Lamela meant that Spurs could actually invest in the summer and start to basically rebuild, which they need desperately, we've talked about many times before, would you do it, Andres?
It's a very, very difficult question to answer, because I do think that the painful rebuild has to occur this year. We do have to transition. We're going to have to transition quite a few players out in order to get any players in. And we definitely need some players in, right? And I know that we have an upcoming video talking about that. I think it depends on how much we can get for him, right? Like, I don't know how things are going in Serie A. I don't know how much Bologna would be willing to put up, but if it's anything close to 15 million, then I'd probably bite their hand off for that.
Yeah.
But John, we were talking about this earlier, man. Like, it's difficult because he is a known quantity at Tottenham. You know what you're going to get from him. He's had injury issues in the past, and now he's probably having one of his better seasons here. At the same time, he's already 29, and his contract is coming up on it's expiring soon, right?
Through 2022. Yep.
Through 2022, right? So we know that Tottenham have this policy for people that are coming up to 29, 30, 31, etc. And they're very, very reluctant to extend those for an extended period of time, right? For multi-year. So what happens if we extend him for a year and then he gets injured again, right? What happens if we sell him and we bring in someone else and they don't fluff? So there's a lot of risk here, and I'd honestly be very curious to hear your take on it.
Yeah, I think we have to do it, right? I think with the way, we've talked about the logjam of transfers from basically 3 years ago, not so much recently, but 3 years ago. And we're at a point now where obviously, I think we've named 8 to 12 players that could potentially go from the first team. And Lamela is consistently one of them. And it fluctuates year to year. He just happens to be having one of his better years, right now.
See, I would actually say he would be on that list, but I think he'd be lower on that list. I do think players like Sissoko have to be shifted out this season or this transfer window.
But then it comes down to money, right? I mean, Lamela, you said 15 to 20 million evaluation. Is anybody going to spend 15 to 20 mil on Sissoko at this point? I mean, he's what, 30?
I think they'll probably spend somewhere closer to 10.
Right.
Right.
He'll probably end up back in France.
But yeah, that's a good point. Lamela will probably get us more. At the same time, that's also because Lamela offers more to our squad than a Moussa Sissoko, at least at this point in time.
Right? This year.
So that's actually a great pivot there, right? Like, what players do you think we have to prioritize shipping out this summer so we can bring other players in? Like, how do you rank that list?
I think you have to rank it. It depends. So a fan ranking will be completely different than a Daniel Levy ranking. And I think for Erik Lamela on Daniel Levy's list, it's probably higher up there because he can probably get a bigger return. Remember, he bought him for 30 mil, right?
Right.
Capu, Eriksson, Soldado, Nasser Chadli, all these guys, none of them are here anymore, but he still is. And if he can get 20 mil from a club like Bologna or somewhere, that has to be number one on his list, especially if he plans on doing anything this summer. Now, as a fan, of course, I would love to see Harry Winks go first. I would love to see Matt Doherty, out of here, and we bring in somebody who's, more like a Kyle Walker-Peters. Why we ever let him go, I have no idea. But, for fans, I think that list is going to look very differently than somebody like Daniel Levy. how he looks at it. Which probably didn't directly answer your question, but
no. I think that's fine, and I think another way to approach it is like, would you rather get rid of just Lamela, or would you rather get rid of, let's say, Doherty and Sissoko, which would amount to potentially somewhere between 15 and 20, right? And I think that would be ideal, like shifting on these players that we've clearly moved past from, rather than shifting on players that still do play a role in our starting 11 or close to it. That's, of course, in an ideal world. So transfer window is always crazy. This transfer window itself, I think, will be very, very slow, extremely slow, because the money just isn't there.
Right.
Like, if Spurs don't have the money, Bologna have very little money, right? So that's something worth considering. I think ideally we would get, I think in a perfect world, we would get anywhere between 15 and 20 for Lamela. Given the current market, I think he'll probably be down to maybe 12, maybe that low. Again, because of this market. And I know that Levy's Levy, and he's going to, negotiate and try to get the best deal. But at the end of the day, there's no money to be spent this season by any club, essentially. Like, even Real is going to have to sell. PSG might have to sell in order to buy.
Well, from what we've learned, if someone's selling, somebody's always buying. But you have a point. Like,
true.
When you look at the transfer window, or at least our revenue, in 2019, I think I was reading that they brought in about 450 million euros. About 100 million of that was directly from match day earnings. Now, obviously, operational costs are a lot lower because they're not playing, but they're also losing out on that top line revenue as well. So, it kind of offsets each other. There's probably a lot of things at play. What happens with Gareth Bale? I mean, that's a huge. I don't care what percentage Real Madrid's taking. It's a massive wage impact, especially with something that's so taken care of as far as annual levy goes when it comes to structure. There's probably a lot of factors, but if someone told me, as a fan favorite who likes Lamela, and I would rather see him here, but if someone told me, given the climate, we're not going to be able to do anything in the transfer market unless we sell Lamela, like, I'll probably understand it. Like, I'll be upset only because the nostalgia's there, but I'll understand the move. Just to close things out, what is your favorite Erik Lamela moment? Just out of curiosity, do you have one?
Man, that's a good question. Obviously, his two Rabonas are great. Maybe I wouldn't reduce it to just one moment. I think my favorite part of watching Lamela play is just how dirty he can be, because Spurs have missed that. Spurs have missed that. And if there's two players that come to mind that you just know they're going to give 120% every match, it's Lamela and it's Lucas. And they're both players that fans, I think, have taken for granted for a long time. And I don't think a lot of people realize how much that mentality is needed at Spurs, because the opposite of that mentality is what we saw against Arsenal and against Dinamo Zagreb, right? Granted, Lamela was part of those matches, right? So I get it. He can't do it by himself, right? But he does 99% of the time exhibit what I wish the rest of the team would do, which is aggressive play, which is confident play, right? That I think it's going to be really hard to replace.
That's all translated to what we like to call shithousery.
Yeah, there you go. What's your favorite? What's your favorite moment?
I still think Battle at the Bridge when he stamped on Jack Fabregas's hand, and just I think it was after they equalized, Chelsea equalized, and things just went downhill from there, where he just casually just walked on his hand and walked away like pretending nothing happened. Is still one of my probably my best moment for him.
I think it's funny that our two best moments, or the things that we like most about him, don't really have to do with his football technique. It's just him as a person, him as Erik Lamela, and I think he's gonna be remembered for a very long time by Spurs fans.
I think the thing that may save him is, remember in the documentary, Jose said we need. I'm not going to say the word, but you need to act like a bunch of. You're right. I think the reason Jose likes him so much is because he is that.
I agree.
That's what he does. That's what he brings to the table. All right, thank you so much, Andres. I appreciate it. That is our Erik Lamela take. We will see you soon, shortly here on OTB. Thanks so much, everybody.
Cheers, John. Bye, guys.